Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and Taekwondo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
Good morning and welcome to the Motivated Martial Artists Podcast with me, Jackson White.
And Gavin Cook.
Okay, today we're very excited to announce the launch of our new website, the motivatedmartialartist.com. There's a link in the show notes below for you to check it out. We'd really value your feedback. We're also extremely excited that the Motivated Martial Artists have launched our consultancy business to bring to you a number of products and services to assist all martial arts school owners, instructors and black belts wanting advice and assistance on how to open and run a profitable and sustainable martial arts school.
We're also super excited to announce our partnership with Skills Worldwide and the launch of Skills UK and Ireland. Skills is a world-leading, dynamic, age-specific bolt-on children's syllabus that can be integrated into any style of martial arts system. If you're an instructor or a school owner and you can run a children's class, you need to check out the Skills program. Skills syllabus is currently used in over 1,200 martial arts schools over the US, and we're really excited to see the growth here in the UK. I've personally been using the Skills program in my schools for the last 2 years, and it's given me massive growth, but more importantly, massive retention, because the drills are geared towards discarded repetition and, most importantly, fun. Melody Johnson, who designed the Skills syllabus, has extensive knowledge and experience researching the childhood development and the relationship in martial arts coaching and parenting. Her first influential development was the creation of the Little Ninja program over 20 years ago, which is still being used in some UK martial arts schools. For further information, check out the website, motivatedmartialartist.com.
Once you get onto the site, you'll see our martial arts class booking software. This will be available from the first quarter of 2020. It's currently being trialled in a handful of schools at beta stage. Our class booking software has been specifically designed for the UK martial artists and bolts into existing websites, allowing seamless integration. It's simple to use and brings martial arts classes into the 21st century. Our software is built around the oversubscribed method of recruiting new students. If you'd like to be one of the first UK schools to run our class booking software, please drop us a line through the website and you'll be added to the waiting list.
For more information on our skills program, on our consultancy packages and our software, please visit themotivatedmartialartist.com. Now over to today's show.
Today's guest is Karen Campbell. Really excited to speak to Karen today. She's a karate. She does karate. She's a Shotokan. She does kickboxing. She does MMA, and she's also an actor. And she does a lot in the theatres. And you may have even seen her in a bit part in Coronation Street recently. Great to have you on the show today, Karen.
Thank you very much. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Yeah, we're both good, thank you.
Karen, I'm just going to pass you over to Jackie, who's got the first question lined up for you. So I'll just pass you over to him.
Okay, something we ask all of our guests, Karen, when they first come on the show. People really want to understand a little bit about you, and I think that the best place to start is at the very beginning. So can you give us a bit of an insight into your early years, into your childhood, schooling, and then growing up, and some of the activities that you participated in, and then how you got into martial arts?
Oh, okay. Well, in North Wales now, and this is where I was actually brought up. But I was brought up with my brother by my grandparents at a very early age. So there's several reasons for that, but I won't bore you with those.
Okay.
And a little village, so right in the hills, a little village, brought up with about 60 other kids in the village, in the school, and I seemed to excel at sports.
Okay.
So I went on to represent Wales in hurdles, netball, what else? Hockey.
Okay,
and I used to do 200 metres, so sport was my thing.
And what age group were you representing Wales at?
Oh, and it was junior, so it was under 18s at the time. So right up till the age of 18, I was doing all those things. And I was the first girl in Wales at the age of 9 to play for a mixed football team.
Oh,
First girl.
There you go. Good.
Yeah, in 1972 or something.
No, yeah, giving your age away now.
Yeah, 56 and proud, love.
Yeah, excellent. So
I did all that, then. Yeah.
Go on, you go. Carry on. Okay.
did all that, then went to high school, and I danced there and became a dancer and got into ballet there without a dance lesson in my life at 16. But my grandparents couldn't afford for me to live in London. So I went up to Scotland and won the hurdles for Wales instead. Just like, oh, I can't go there. Oh, I'll go up there and do that instead.
Brilliant.
So, and then I did a bit of karate at the time, but only, playing at it. Can't even remember the instructor's name. And that was it until I was 29. And that's when I started doing kickboxing. And that's because somebody told me I was too old.
Really? So that was your inspiration to get back into it, was it?
Yeah, it is. If you tell me anything that I can't do, whatever, that's so you can use that kind of psychology on me. Tell me I can't, so you know I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And because I'd been a dancer, I could kick up high. I could, I was quite powerful. But my grandfather, who brought me up, he was an ex-army boxing champion, and I seemed to have that knack.
Right.
So when I went there, I just thought, oh, I can do this. This is really good. So, yeah, that's where it started. That was in 1992, I think.
Okay, and who was your first instructor then?
His name was John Tibbs, and it was under the UCASCO banner. What's his name? Roy Stanhope.
Okay.
And then we changed and went on to Paul Hennessy with Wacko Pro.
Yep. We know the Wacko organisation quite well.
Yeah? Oh, okay, yeah. We used to go to Rill occasionally and train with, I don't know if you've heard these names, Eugene Valerio, Spencer Wilding.
No.
Spencer Wilding is Darth Vader now, isn't he?
Ah, yeah. Okay, cool. And is that the latest film, wasn't it?
I think he's done a couple of them.
Okay.
Yeah, because he only lives up the road, really. So, but I used to go to Rill because I never ever liked training with females. Hated it.
Okay.
I hated it. I loved with the guys because they didn't. They just went for it. Some of the women just didn't do it for me then.
So when was your sort of did you sort of dip your toe into the sort of competition arena?
95.
Okay.
95 under the Russ Williams. He was the world champion at kickboxing at the time, and he had a promotional company. So I fought under his banner.
Okay. Can you remember your first fight?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can remember my first fight, and it was in a place called Springfield, which is in a place called Holywell. And when I went there, it was the adrenaline was flowing, and I've never had that kind of feeling before. So I loved it. It's
one of those, isn't it, where there's not many places you can experience that sort of that adrenaline dump,
Absolutely nowhere, not on that scale. No, because there's fear, there's excitement, you just don't know what's going to happen. That square ring, you're going to get in there, and you don't know what's going to happen, and it's all that. It's just you can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah,
nowhere else.
I don't know about that. Do you know what? I served in the forces and was involved in a number of conflicts. And so that adrenaline you can get massively on, but it's life and death situation.
Yeah.
So certainly when I came out the forces, I then got re-involved in martial arts, just really to get that same adrenaline fix, which was great.
Oh, okay. Well, do you know what? Respect to you, sir. Respect to you for what you've done.
But you're right. But I think on the mat, it's weird, isn't it? Because you're not going to get hurt. Well, you might get hurt, but you're not going to get hurt to the sort of situation that Jackie's talking. But at the same time, you know that person in front of you is going to come forward and they're going to try and punch you, they're going to try and kick you, and you're on your own.
Absolutely. And you know what? I can't come second in anything. I cannot come second. I did once. And it was doing the hurdles for Wales, and I did it. It was in South Wales somewhere, and this girl, she beat me. I never did it again. I couldn't deal with it. That was awful, isn't it? It is awful not being able to deal with coming second. But I was first at everything. and nobody'd ever taught me how to not come first.
Do you think that's something that's sort of nurtured within you from your sort of growing up days, or do you just think that's just Karen?
I think there's a nurtured part, because we, as young kids, had to survive. Again, there's a lot that happened in my childhood, which I won't go into now.
Okay.
But I had to survive, and I knew I had to be, I had to be the best to be able to get ahead and to survive, really, to survive.
So yeah, one of our next podcasts that we're doing, Gavin and I, we're going to be discussing failure and the different ways that people deal with failure. So like you said, like for us, failure, to me, we really embrace failure now, certainly, because actually that's what allows us to grow. The more we fail, the more you and fail forward by examining why you failed and then rectifying, the more you develop and grow. So I think from what you're saying there, your failure at that time, you found it difficult to deal with?
Yeah, because I'd never failed before. That was my first ever failure, and there was nobody there to pick me up and say, it's okay, and you can learn from this, and you can go on, you can go forward and be a better version of yourself. No, there was nobody. You just left to it. I think I was nearly 18 at this point.
Okay.
Right.
And no, but I've got 4 kids, and I make sure they understand you do not have to be first. You do not have to be the best.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because obviously you want to protect your kids, and when they're going through tough times, you want to be able to pick them up and say, it's okay to fail, and it's okay to go through this. But at the same time, what you're saying is not having anybody to do that is probably made you tougher in the long run, and maybe sometimes as parents we can be a bit wrap them up in cotton wool a little bit, and don't worry, it's going to be all right, and you don't want to see them upset. Where sometimes, I do wonder that myself, because obviously you're wondering if what you're doing is for the best sometimes when kids are growing up, and it's only until they're older that you can look back and think, well, okay, yeah, well maybe that was the right decision to do it like that.
Yeah, well, I've got 4 kids, but when I say kids, they range from 33 down to 12.
Okay.
33, 23, 22, and 12. 3 boys, and the 12-year-old's a girl.
Okay.
The eldest is a boy, and he used to play cricket for Wales, and he played grade cricket in Australia. He's like me. He, number one, he has to be really good, the best.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps him going. The second and third child, the 2 boys, they'll participate. They don't have to be the best. They're okay. My daughter, she's an actress, but she's a dancer.
Right.
And she finds it very hard not being the best. But I try and instill in her, don't worry about that. Don't worry, just give it your best. That's all anybody can ever ask of you. And if you don't get it this time, don't you worry, because you will learn something from it, and you'll be able to take it forward with you.
Yeah.
Because obviously she does lots of auditions, and you don't get every audition.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, presumably you have to be quite resilient in that type of in the acting career. Obviously I've not been involved with it, but I can imagine it's quite cutthroat.
Yeah, it is. So you have to have a lot of resilience and perseverance, actually.
Yeah.
It's like my hurdles. You have to get over the first one, and if you knock it down, you go back to the start and you do it again.
Yeah, I can imagine it's not too different to being a salesperson. So both Gavin and I have both been in business development and sales since most of our careers. And you knock on or talk to people about opportunities and potential sales opportunities, you may get 1 out of the 10. So you've got to be resilient in that space, because you're not going to get every single one, and you can't win them all. But dealing with that, I think for a lot of people is a real challenge. And certainly some of my ex-sales colleagues and business development colleagues, I'd be watching them, and they'd be on a constant roller coaster where they'd be talking to people, losing opportunities. No different to an audition, I suppose, where actually, it's great, but we don't want it today, or it's great, you're not quite right, or the product's not quite right. Because actually, as an actor, you're a product, aren't you? You're selling yourself in an audition.
Absolutely, yeah. You're selling yourself. You're selling your skills as an actor, hopefully, and but it may not fit what they want. Your product. If you're selling product services may not be exactly what they want at that time.
Exactly that.
it's no failing on your behalf.
That's right.
It's just not right for that moment, for that part, for that job, whatever.
But but you've got to, it's about personal training, isn't it? Training yourself to understand that, and then examining, and then if it is something in your repertoire of skills, going away, building on that particular weakness, and then going back again for the next one, and then the next one, then the next one.
Your weaknesses can become your strengths, can't they?
Most definitely.
Well, I suppose you don't. Like I say, you don't know what they're looking for at that particular time, do you? When you audition,
no.
Or you might be going for one part, and you think, and they say, actually, you know what, you're not right for this part, but you will be perfect for another part we've got coming up in another film or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. That does happen. That happens quite a lot, especially in the theatre.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your acting career then, Karen. How did you first get into the acting side?
I got in again in school. Always wanted to have the main part, be up there on the stage, because I'm actually quite a shy person. But when you go on stage, TV, whatever, you're somebody else. You take on a different persona. You don't have to be yourself. So that's when I come alive. And I did things through school. Then I got picked out and was in the youth theatre. So I did things with the youth theatre. And then I went on to do just little things here, there and everywhere. But it's mostly in the last 5 to 10 years that I've been doing things. I did a film 1996, but that was the Ruth Ellis story, The Last Woman to Be Hanged.
Okay.
I don't know if you, so, and I thought, but then I found out I was pregnant and that, so I had to, and I was a 60s dancer in it, so I had to like get into all these PVC things, like, oh bloody hell, it's getting tight. But yeah, so now I find that I really love the theatre more than any other place, because you get the instant sort of applause from the audience. You can see their reactions to different parts of a play, to immersive theatre. You're amongst the people, so that's what I like. There's a warmth, and it's immediate. TV, there's a camera in front of you.
Okay.
And a crew. That's it.
Yeah. So I've just googled the Ruth Ellis story.
Oh right, to see what it's about.
Yeah. Okay, so she was the last woman to be hanged in the United Kingdom. Okay, cool. Did you? So what?
And it's for passion.
Yeah. So I bet that was quite an interesting play to be in then. Was that? Sorry, you was in the film, was you?
That was in a film. Yeah. Okay. That was in a film. That was in the 90s, but when I was at the height of peak fitness and all that lot. So
yeah, good. So obviously theatre you like. What sort of other TV stuff have you been in then, Karen?
Just a lot of things you probably wouldn't have heard of, but up in the northwest there's there's something called Hidden.
Okay.
You might see it there, but it's also in Welsh called Christ, and it's the first production company that ever done it in both languages. So they do the take in English, and then they cut a TV station and in an English one at the same time. I think it's so clever.
Okay.
So in that, something called Pili Pala, which is Welsh for butterfly, Round and Round, Soldier Godfather, just been a bit part in a film called Me, Myself and Die.
Okay.
Which Tiger Drew, honey, Larry Lamb. Oh, I'm trying to think of other people in it. There's quite a few people in it, so that's not out till next year.
Okay. Have you ever got to do your martial arts in a film production?
No, and I want to. So anybody listening to this, if you want a female martial arts person, I'm your gal.
Okay.
I'm your gal.
Cool. We had Mark Strange on. I don't know if you listened to Mark's interview on the podcast.
Yeah, I listened to a bit of that one.
He was talking about the importance of actually developing a show reel.
Yeah.
Obviously, he got a friend of his to develop a really, really good show reel, and he used to send that to studios and that was how he really sort of broke into the film scene with his martial arts.
Yeah, I've got an agent, but I need to have another one that I can do those kind of things with, because I think there's specific casting directors out there looking for these people. So that's something I'll have to. In fact, I might have a word with Mark and see where we can go from there.
Well,
he might give me a few tips.
If you ever need a youngster, I know both my kids have expressed interest in doing some martial arts on the screen.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, I just think it's because they don't know what they want to do when they leave school, so they're just coming up with ideas. But they're quite young, fit lads. You know what I mean? So I sort of thought it'd be good to maybe see if we can get them in the movies.
Yeah, that's right, and make you lots of money. Yeah.
Well, yeah, or give me more stress probably.
Yeah, absolutely, they'll never stop giving you stress. I can tell you that. I can vouch for that one myself.
Very true. So what would you say then, Karen, outside of the martial arts, has been some of your greatest achievements then?
Oh, okay. Well, obviously, having 4 kids, that's an achievement. I think
most definitely.
4 kids. Yep. And again, I went on to do hurdles, hockey, netball for Wales, 200 metres for Wales. Loved those. So yeah, all things like that. And going to the Hall of Fame, that was an achievement, because, as I told you earlier on, I didn't know if that was real or not until I actually got there.
Yeah, and that's where we met. So.
And that's where we met, or didn't.
Or didn't, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or didn't, yeah. Or didn't. But yeah, Martial Arts Hall of Fame, so that is something, very proud of that now. Very proud of it.
Not gladiators then?
I did go on Glad. How do you know about that?
You told me.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, 1997.
Oh, do you know what? You got further than me. I actually volunteered for it. What was the year? 95 I volunteered, did the interviews, but I got there, never actually got on the shows.
Did you do the tryouts and things?
Yeah, did all the tryouts, got to Birmingham, but never actually got put on the show.
He got scared of Hunter.
How dare you?
Because Hunter's biceps were bigger, so he bottled out.
I worked with Hunter. He did the doors up here in North Wales for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did. And I've done the doors as well.
Oh,
because somebody said that. Yeah. When did I do those? That was early 2000s, I think 2005. I did the doors because I had my badge, because people said I couldn't do it. I was too small. So I went and got my badge, and then, the buggers, they put me on the door with this bloke called, they called him Damo, but he was an MMA person. He was about 6'9", I'm 5'2", and they just thought that was hilarious. They just thought that was hilarious. But I've got my nickname of the Smiling Assassin from that one.
That's certainly a job that I must admit I wouldn't fancy doing these days, with all the knife crime epidemic and everything else. It's a bit worrying, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's rife. Yeah. Drugs and knives and that kind of culture is not good. So doing the doors, but when you're up here in North Wales, it's not quite as bad as being in a city or
sure. Yeah.
Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, London, wherever. It's not too bad here.
That's why I live in a sleepy little village in Yorkshire where I don't go out and.
Where?
Stamford Bridge.
Okay, yeah.
Stamford Bridge, from the Battle of Stamford Bridge. So it's a nice little sleepy little village where the biggest fear I've got is knocking into somebody carrying their dominoes home from the club.
Do you know what? There's something to be said for all this kind of life, though.
Yeah, but it's one of those where I sort of talk about that with my wife, because obviously we've got 2 boys that we obviously but they're great kids, and they're hopefully they live in a nice little village and they've got some good friends and stuff, but I always worry that they're not going to be streetwise enough, because they're so used to that sort of sleepy village mentality where everyone says hello to each other when they're walking to get their Sunday paper, and everyone knows everyone. But then when they start turning around to me and say, well, Dad, I want to go into Leeds for a night out, or I want to go to, I'll be, it's just, you just worry that they're not going to be streetwise enough for those sort of situations.
Yeah. Well, you can always send them down to me, Gavin. I live in the centre of Coventry, and they'll get a few lessons in city living. 2 weeks, that's all they'll need.
You know what? If you do martial arts, though, that teaches you an awareness, doesn't it? If nothing else, it teaches you an awareness of what's going on around you, which so many kids don't have.
Yes.
But I think martial arts is really good for teaching you, your own space and what's going on around you. You haven't got your head in a phone. Yeah. Well, you shouldn't have. But there is an awareness of everything that surrounds you. You can spot things a mile off when you are aware.
Yeah,
I actually think they should teach this in schools in PE lessons. Self-defense and awareness. They should be teaching this from an early age.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think martial arts should be taught to a degree within schools, but I think there's also an element that it's a sort of slow burner, isn't it? These things can't be taught quickly. It takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication within the martial arts to get that inner confidence within you. It's not something that can be fast tracked, really.
No, it can't be fast tracked. But if you're starting off at, if kids are being taught at a very early age, through their school years, they'll come out of school with that life skill. Yes, you won't necessarily know how to defend against a knife attack or, any kind of attack. But if you've got spatial awareness of your surroundings, there's an avoidance tactic, isn't there?
Yes.
You can, you avoid that situation by being aware.
And I think there's an element by just having trained in something, whatever martial art it is, once you get to a point where you start getting quite good at it, then you start to develop that sort of inner confidence within you, which means when you're walking down the street, you walk with your head held high, and you don't look like a victim. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? You look at some of the children or even some of the adults, and you look at them straight away, and you can tell just by their persona and the way they walk and their body language if they're likely to be a target, really. And I think if you're confident, but confident in the right way, or have that inner confidence, it will stop. Yeah. It's that avoidance.
It is avoidance.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Yeah, but that's part of the awareness, isn't it?
Yes.
And then, you look like a victim. You could well be a victim, but if you look confident, people don't like to confront that, do they?
No.
They're not going to pick on somebody who does look confident and aware of the situation, because there is a fight or flight.
Yeah, they're looking for a victim. They're looking for a quick win, aren't they? They're not going to take on somebody who potentially could put them down and make them look silly, I suppose.
Yeah, my kids are always afraid. Like if ever I see something, I believe in always going, with the underdog and supporting the underdog and protecting the underdog. And I cannot ever walk away or walk on by when I see something happening.
No. Right,
and my kids go, no, Mummy, don't, please don't. But I have to.
No,
I'm definitely not a flight person.
And it's a brilliant trait to have, rather than a lot of the kids these days. All they do is get their film out, stand on the as a bystander on the outside, and just film it and stick it on YouTube. And you see a lot of that going on, don't you? It's dreadful, really.
Absolutely. But it's so disgusting that people do that and think that it's okay. But some of them maybe don't think it's okay, but there's a lot of peer pressure, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
There is always a leader in any gang, any friendship, whether it be a good leader, a bad leader, there is always a leader, and from that leader there is peer pressure, whether and it may be just a subconscious thing, but it's not good.
Okay then. So what have you got lined up next in your life? What are your aspirations to do next, moving on in work and both in martial arts?
Okay, martial arts, hopefully. We're trying to build up some more in the club, because there's always, peaks and troughs in attendance and things. So we're trying to get more people coming, but as we've been to the Martial Arts Hall of Fame and got these certificates, trying to get the papers involved and give us a bit of,
free publicity.
Advertise us.
How do you find that? Like you said, you've had your club for nearly 20 years. How do you find, you're getting on with sort of intakes and things like that? Do you think it's dipping, or do you think there's maybe more clubs popping up, or what's your thoughts?
There are a lot more clubs popping up, but there's a lot of people coming from their clubs to ours.
Okay, interesting.
Because parents say they're just getting belts every other month. And we don't think these kids are sort of learning much, so they're coming to us. And we're kind of a bit old school in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. A belt is something, it's an achievement to be proud of. We've got a syllabus and people are working to it. It's not because picked off out so that we still have syllabus and we grade. So, and parents can see that because we've still got a lot of discipline, and we got the 6 codes that we get them to learn, to go home, to understand what they mean, and instill in everything. So, yeah, the club it's doing okay. It's doing okay, but then there's rising costs of the leisure centres because the council
they're under scrutiny.
What we have to pay. And it's going through the roof. It's ridiculous. I had a meeting yesterday we had a class yesterday for a couple of hours, and had a meeting with the leisure centre, and they just said, no, our hands are tied. We cannot give it to you cheaper. There's no such thing as loyalty, and it's quite demoralising. But we don't want to have to put up, the kids, paying monthly, a bit more monthly, because some kids, their parents cannot afford it. Because kids these days, they're doing several different things, aren't they?
That's right.
Several things.
I have the same. I have the same in my taekwondo schools. One is in quite an affluent area, and one is in quite what I consider an underprivileged area. So I try and work with the council to get grants, and then look how I can subsidise the students in the lower area, and that works quite well for me.
Oh, does it? That might be an approach that I need to look into, because we definitely need that. We need new equipment. Somebody's actually pointed me in the direction of proceeds of crime with the police. The North Wales Police. So I'm going to approach those later on. I'll just make sure there's nothing on my Facebook that's like defamatory or anything before they think, Karen. There isn't. I'm joking.
But I think. Sorry, Karen. I was going to say. I think what you said about keeping true to your roots and keeping true to the tradition of martial arts and keeping it. Okay, it doesn't have to be as old school as it used to be back 30 years ago. But there is an element that you still have to keep that discipline, because there are a lot of schools. I mean, we see it in our areas. The old muck dojo, analogy. Obviously, people, that where it's basically a money-making machine where they're just grading every couple of months and they get a belt regardless of whether they've earned it or not. And I think it's important to parents to understand that not all martial arts clubs are the same. You've got to really think about where you're going to put your children or your adults. You've got to think about the school. You've got to look for the recommendations. You've got to look to see who they're affiliated with, and to make sure you're getting the right instruction. Especially certainly for your children. I don't think you can just take them to the nearest one, and because they are all very different, aren't they?
They are. You're going to get the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
You're going to get that wherever you go, and there are some blinking good ones around, and some that not quite as good.
And some of that are awful. I'll quite happily say that there are some that are awful. But again, I think it's up to the parents really to do the due diligence on the class, as you would do with any sport.
Yeah.
Not just martial arts. It's a gymnastics class, a dancing school, a football club. There's good, there's bad, and like you said, there's certainly the ugly. So just talking about, you've had your schools for quite some time. How have you had to adapt yourself as an instructor to with the changing environment with children and society?
Well, you just have to make sure that you're up to date with all the new policies and procedures that are around these days, safeguarding. Mm-hmm. Things do change. whereas once upon a time, with kids, with anybody, sometimes you're actually scared to touch the child.
Yeah.
You just don't know, so you have to make sure everything is kosher, your policies, your procedures, your safeguarding, you're all, that you're everybody that's within the club instructing is up on that. So that can be quite difficult, and it can be quite demotivating.
Yes.
Is that the right word? Is that a word? Is that a word?
Demotivated. I feel like that with Gavin in the morning sometimes when he phones me at 5 o'clock with his next crazy business idea.
But it is quite hard. But when you're teaching it, you end up not doing it yourself. So you have to be quite. You have to have good time management with yourself and put a bit of time aside for yourself to keep with your own fitness, with your own techniques, and make sure you're teaching correctly.
Yeah, no, you do. It becomes difficult, especially, I'm a full-time instructor, so I battle with that quite a lot, so I have to really make that time. Normally in the mornings, really, before the kids even get up for school, I try to get out and get some exercise done, whether it's the gym or whether it's go and hit the bag or work on my patterns or whatever it's going to be. I have to make that time in the morning because I'm teaching evenings, and once I sat down at the desk, before you know it, it's 4 o'clock again. It's like, well, where did the day go?
Yeah, I'm sure that can happen. Yeah. I'm sure that can happen. But obviously, I don't do it full time. So, but yeah, you've got to set a bit of time for yourself, because again, not with martial art, with everything, life is short.
Yeah, no. Well, it sounds like you've crammed quite a bit into your life so far, Karen, and I'm sure you're going to continue to keep cramming stuff in. So just just one question that we always sort of ask the guests towards the sort of end of the interview is obviously we are the motivated martial artists. So tell us if you could sort of put it in a box or put a circle around the thing. What's that thing that really sort of motivates you to get up every day?
Okay, that's it. Simple. Life. Live life, love life, and just be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be every day.
Brilliant.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, life is short, and I know it's a cliche. I know everyone says it, but I think it's not until you have something, like a death in the family or an illness, and not trying to put obviously a doom and gloom on it, but sometimes, it's only until these little things happen that you actually realise, you know what, life is short and we're not going to be around forever, and we have to make the most of the time that we've got.
Absolutely. Yep, you do. Look at the Hall of Fame that night. How many people got up there that had battled illnesses?
Yeah, there was lots, wasn't there?
There was lots, and that was just, one room, and there was a lot of stories there from people battling, and I'm sure they'd say the same. They would live every single minute of the day and grasp it with both hands and just box it up and say, yes, I'm living the best life I can. Fantastic. This is the best me every day.
Totally agree. Karen, that is absolutely fantastic. We're going to draw it to a close there. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, gentlemen.
No, it's been great.
It's been really good. Great to have some great insight into you. Like I said, we didn't know too much about you before the Martial Arts Awards. But hopefully we'll get a chance to maybe come up to your dojo and get a session in with you.
Yeah, that would be fab. And if I don't see you, enjoy Llandudno.
Yeah, we will do. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, see you later.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and our Facebook group, The Motivated Martial Artist Podcast.
Or check us out on Instagram, The Motivated Martial Artists,
where you'll see much more content and early insight into some of the interviews and some of the guests and some of the conversations around the things that we're discussing. Hope to see you all next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.